When it comes to autoflowers, you may love them or you may hate them, but I'm loving it kind of attitude towards autoflowers. And here are my best overall picks for autoflower breeders in 2025. Let's start with my most obvious choice. Comes to mephistogenetics. They're like a virtual monster in the industry. I mean, pretty much anyone who's ever grown an autoflower pretty much knows about mephistogenetics, am I right? And mephistogenetics just carry on their tradition year after year of producing fantastically new autoflowers for me to enjoy. There are so many different varietals. And if you've watched this channel before, you know that I love mephistogenetics, and that is why it's tipping off the beginning of this video. We may as well be real, and we may as well just discuss the truth right away, right out of the gate, because I have a lot of mephistogenetics, and I run a lot of mephistogenetics, and there are a lot of them that I particularly am a huge fan of. Shout out to Heisenberg, shout out to Skywalker OG, Barry White. Let's talk a little bit about the last one that I grew in Tooth Decay, which is a phenomenal plant that absolutely smells and reeks of terpenes and just becomes super frosty. That's another varietal that I particularly love. Now, their website is packed with all kinds of autoflowers, and recently they have extended to do quite a few new autoflowers as it goes on. And so there are just more and more choices year after year, and it drives me crazy because I can't grow them all, but I love mephistogenetics. Here are my top runners for 2025: Phantasmo Express, Universal Love, and Tooth Decay. Now, if you consider mephistogenetics a giant in the autoflower industry, then you're gonna probably think that nightowlseeds is also a titan in the industry, and I agree. Now, their forerunner, their main breeder, Daz, has a connection with Mephisto. He did work with them in the past, and he is a formidable breeder in his own right, and he has his own vision on where he wants to take his genetics, and he wants them packed with terpenes. He wants them to be unique, and he also wants them to be very stable. He works real hard to make sure that they are, and so therefore there are not a whole ton of releases every single year of any particular strain. And if you look on his webpage, it mirrors that thought. Right now it just says, see you in 2025. That means that he will have new things dropping in 2025, and he has nothing currently available on the website. I'm sorry guys, but maybe you can source them through other third-party bean retailers or whatever, and seed banks and so on. And before we get gone from the night owl recommendation, let's talk a little bit about my top runners. I am going to want to try and pack out my tent with Milk and Cookies, Strawberry Milk and Cookies Redo, and the Bubblegum Queen from Night Owl Genetics. Check them out. Is an emerging favorite of mine, and I mean, for autoflowers, they have always been one of my favorites for photo periods. But I just tried one of their autoflowers called the Pluto Cut, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. I'm still enjoying it to this day, and it just makes me want to grow more Ethos genetics. And Ethos genetics has a science-based approach to their plant production. They are not a company that is looking for unstable genetics. They are looking to make the best fire genetics that they can. I personally love Ethos genetics. I've grown many of their strains in the past. A couple of my favorites include Planet of the Grapes and Mac and Jack. Now this Pluto Cut, it was a little bit longer of a grow than some of my other OGs that I've grown in the past. But let me tell you, that candy OG flavor and that potency just ring through in a way that very few autoflowers can. Before we get past here, let's talk about my top runners for 2025 from Ethos Genetics. I would like to try their Lilac Diesel Autoflower. I have to try their Planet of the Grapes, and I gotta try their Purple Tie, because Purple Tie, baby. Check them out, Ethos Genetics. After I made my video last year for 2024, I received a ton of recommendations for this company, and I looked into it. And on their webpage, they are packed with all kinds of unique autoflowers. Now, these are more of a curiosity than an experience grow for me. I'm very curious as to what Brother Mendel can do. Now, they're frequently recommended, and it's to the point where it's kind of crazy. It's like, man, why are you talking about Mephisto when you could be talking about Brother Mendel, or the kinds of statements that I'm getting? And with that, I can really kind of not understand why I haven't grown any of their genetics other than plant count and time, right? I mean, I have space and time, I guess. You know, you gotta have enough space to grow those autoflowers. But with that being said, the ones that I'm seeing on this webpage are driving me crazy, and they're giving me that itch. And you guys know what that itch is. It's to grow fire. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about my top runners for 2025. Right here, they have one called Blueberry Kim Cake and Death is Silent. Full clip. Check those out, and check out Brother Mendel. So there's this small rumor mill that keeps talking to me about Speedrun seeds, and the truth is I looked into them as well, kind of like Brother Mendel, and it's the same scenario where I really need to try them out. I do, and I should run them, and that is why I will be running them this year in my tent as well. I need to make sure that I'm getting a few good autoflower runs every year in my tent, and that helps keep me supplied throughout the year while I'm making seeds and while I'm doing other things, testing my genetics and so on, where sometimes my photo periods aren't able to keep up with the demand I need because of that testing. So therefore, companies like Speedrunseeds are so embedded into my radar that it's like I have a homing beacon, baby, and I really have to do this. I feel like there's no other choice. Now, I have several choices for top runners in 2025. It was hard to narrow it down to a list of 3, but man, I'm telling you right now, this is gonna be something special. Flavor Bomb, Blappleberry Haze, and Supreme Runs. Who doesn't like something that calls itself Supreme Runs? Check them out. Speedrun Seeds. I'm going to. I hope you do. Awesome.